Hey everybody, what's going on? KSA Kris here, Real Estate Blitz. Want to do a couple quick videos. I'm actually going to do one right now talking about my experience at the Tom Ferry Summit 2017. I didn't go in 2016. I heard a whole bunch of stuff about Tom Ferry. As some of you know, I started Tom Ferry coaching about a year ago. Just kind of looking to see what was out there and what was beneficial, what wasn't. And I ended up on the Tom Ferry program. If you want to see my input or my thoughts on that program, I would highly recommend. I have another video prior. Go check that out. But I want to talk today about Summit. So what is Summit? Summit was, what I read Summit was and what it actually ended up being, they were kind of in tow. And I think there's positives and negatives, so I'm going to kind of tell you both. So I want to let you know that I didn't go to Summit by myself either. I initially intended on going to Summit by myself, but then a bunch of people on our team with Kim Steele and Associates decided that they wanted to go as well, so we got them tickets and they went. So let's start off with, what is Summit? Summit's really an opportunity for people that are on the Tom Ferry coaching program or people that aren't to get together with other like-minded people to gain education. It's an education seminar. It's like a week long. I think is the best way of explaining it as a seminar. And what I learned is it was much more than just a seminar though. What you have is you have real estate professionals that are nationwide that are, I say professionals because it's not just people that are real estate agents. I met lenders, I met title people, I met escrow people, I met all sorts of people that were in every variation and facet of real estate that went to this event. It was in Vegas this year, so that was kind of cool. I thought there were pluses and negatives to that myself. Me personally, I was there to learn. I was there to work. I worked every day. I didn't drink. I didn't go out and party, but there were a lot of people that, because they're in Vegas, they went out and did what they had to do. I get it why it's in Vegas, but man, it would have been nice. I've always liked seminars that are like in a desert island kind of place where you can't go nowhere or do nothing else but just completely immerse yourself. So what I would say is for the people that went, you had to be self-disciplined if you really wanted to sit down and spend every minute. And I think I was working every day from about 7 o'clock until maybe midnight, just immersing myself in it. I met just hundreds of people. Ended up just doing a ton of networking. So for me, networking was a big one. The second one that I got out of Summit was referrals. It really was kind of structured as a referral-based thing, and you could tell the people that had been to Summit before, they were walking around, they had bags, they had like candy things, they had cards, they were pushing a referral-based business. I think some of those people did it right. I would say most of those people did it right, and then some of the people did it wrong. This one lady, she walked up to me, she sits down, she's like, "You have a card?" I was like, "Yeah." "Why?" "Well, I have a card, and if you have a referral in my area, I want you to call me." I was like, "I don't even know you. You didn't even come up and tell me your name, so I'll pass." But, everybody's got their thing, man. So Summit is a seminar. To me, it was more than just a seminar. The education portion was pretty good. There was a lot of really good information. I took like 30 pages of notes. It actually helped me restructure some of the stuff that we're doing in our own business. But really, it was about for me, it was about the networking. It was about meeting other agents, hearing other people's stories, readjusting what we're doing. I got to sit next to a great team, our team. They sat next to me in my seating that I got. So costs. Let's talk about cost for a second. I know, I saw some stuff online, it's like $700, and then people on our team, because I was a student, everybody got it, I think, for like $197. So for about 5 days worth of education, it cost $197. The preferred pricing for hotel rooms was $99 a night. Out, 5 nights, that's $500. So now you're into a $500, $600, $700 plus, food, anything else like that. So it wasn't a cheap trip. I actually ended up paying more. Now, there were other options. I ended up paying for a seat right in the very, very front on the stage, and it's just because I don't like being distracted by people, and I wanted my own table, and I want to be able to have a platform to take notes. So I ended up spending like $700 just for that seat. Other costs. There were a lot of affiliates there. Now, if you haven't heard about my views on affiliates, this is the one genius thing that I would say when it comes to the program they put together. They had to just bankroll the hell out of it because they brought in some really great affiliates. They had Boomtown there. They had Bank of America there. They had Zillow there. And some of you have heard my other videos, and I'm not a fan of all of the affiliates that showed up, but all the affiliates had money, and if you're going to leverage affiliates to get paid, it is what it is. So they had some affiliates there. Their affiliates did well. The one affiliate that I liked the most, hold on one second. Now, this won't work for everybody. I don't know if you can see this. Oh. Geographic farming. I started exploring these guys. You know, I've been trying to find easier ways. We do direct mail and some other stuff here for our marketing. But the geographic farming platform, pretty cool, man. Pretty cool overall. I was pretty impressed with what they have, and we'll probably move forward with the smaller batches to test them out and see what comes of it. So I did run into a couple affiliates that I actually like that we're probably going to end up using. So good on Tom Ferry. So my overall opinion of the event. There were certain things that I didn't like. And you're gonna, I know somebody's gonna write a comment down below. What didn't you like, Chris? Why didn't you say it? Okay, so I'll tell you real quick. Certain things I didn't like. I'm not a big, not everybody's into this, and I'm not a real big, jumping around, dancing, and acting like I'm speaking tongues and stuff, because it's just not who I'm built. I'm showing up to do business. I'm there to get information. And I think the only thing I didn't like is if you didn't jump around and act like all the other people, then you were kind of shamed for it. And in the process, they're like, well, don't be like everybody else, let go and jump up. I says, well, actually, I'm not being everybody else by just minding my own business and sitting here trying to get what I paid a lot of money for. I don't need to run around and dance and start hugging everybody to make my business grow. But that's just my opinion, and maybe I'm just immature. I don't know. I'm just not into that stuff. And I know there's other people out there that aren't into it either. And I didn't like the fact that if you didn't want to jump around and act stupid, people were basically fucking with you over it. I'm not a fan of that. Other than that, that was really the only negative. That was my only negative. Positives. Lots of great information. Lots of great education. Lots of great speakers. You got to hear stories from people that are making $6 million, $10 million a year, all the way down to people that are making $100,000 a year. And the life changes that took place and how they got to where they are. You got to hear about different markets, and when I hear somebody, they did 200 deals in San Diego, it's different than hearing somebody that did 200 deals in Kentucky. It's a different type of a grind, man, and a different type of payday. And it was just a really good experience. Other things that I liked about it, positives. The overall atmosphere and environment was absolutely uplifting. They did talk a lot about mindset stuff, which if you've heard me talk before, I'm a huge believer that 90+% of what we do when it comes to real estate is mindset. If your mind is wrong, and I sat down with one of our new interns, he's looking to quit his job. He's here dedicated, man. He's working his tail off to get into this business. And I says, the faster you change the way that you think. And I says, what do you listen to when you're driving in the morning? He says, well, I listen to the news. All right, look, the news, it's good. I read the news every day. I think it's important that we're in sales. We meet a lot of different types of people. You need to be aware of what's going on in the world and in the country. However, if that's the first thing that you're listening to, it's not probably the best mindset to prepare for the day. So things you should be listening to. Zig Ziglar in the morning. When I drive in, man, I put in a little bit of Zig, and he starts talking about the redhead. We're ready to go. I'm ready to start the day. I'll listen to Grant Cardone in the morning. I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan. Grant Cardone ain't for everybody. Neither is Zig Ziglar. Right? So I'll listen to Grant Cardone in the morning. I'll listen to Lewis Howes. in the morning. I'm listening to things that are kind of just preparing me and prepping me. The faster, I deeply believe, the faster you change your mindset, the more you change. The income is the byproduct. The successful business is the byproduct of how you think. So that's what that was one of the positives of Tom Ferry event, is there was a lot of mindset stuff that was beneficial. I think a lot of people didn't get it or understand what was going on, but for those of us that are a little more self-aware and tapped in, we realize, wow, this is really a big deal. This is a good thing. It's not just about real estate stuff. Other positives that I saw, they did talk about sales. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about the difference, my issue with real estate agents, whenever I meet a real estate agent or hang out with a real estate agent, they're always talking about real estate sales. And they don't talk about sales. Sales, look, we're in sales. We're in sales. Real estate just happens to be a commodity. It doesn't matter if you're trying to sell off oranges, cars, houses. It doesn't matter. It's all sales. But so many real estate agents refuse to admit that, and they think, well, this is different. It's special. It's selling houses. No, this is sales, baby. And it was kind of nice that they talked about some basic sales principles outside of real estate sales stuff. But yeah, overall, man, I walked away. It was a great appreciation for what they did at that event. It actually, I don't like going to a lot of events, and I know I've been telling myself that's one of my major goals. I'm getting ready to go to another one next month. One of my major goals is that I was going to do 4 a year, 4 big seminars a year, in different studies. Like, I'm looking to go to 2 investor ones. This is what I want to start doing every year: 2 investor seminars and 2 real estate based seminars. I want to do that every year, and that's one of my big goals. And I'm starting to find that the deeper I want, again, change the way I think, as long as I'm showing up with the right intent, as long as I'm showing up to bring back something, as long as I'm showing up with my questions and my willingness. This is the one negative for me, my part. I was not open enough. The one thing that I wish I would have done, and if you're looking at the Tom Ferry event for 2018, the one thing I wish I would have done, I wish I would have been more open. I wish I would have been more available to more people. But I'm just, I work. I'm always like writing out stuff. I'm always dreaming. I'm always kind of lost in my own mind. I'm processing all the information I took. I was processing nonstop, and I was writing out ideas and frameworks and how we can implement in our business. And I wish I would have slowed that down a little bit and focused more on just meeting as many people as possible. So if you're looking to do that, and if you're like me, maybe put down the yellow notepad and try to meet more people. That's what I wish I would have done differently, and I will do it differently next year. I think next year, now that I know what it's all about, I'm showing up with a purpose, and my purpose will probably be to meet as many people as possible and expose as many people as possible to who I am and what I do, and see how I could add value to what they're doing and vice versa. So that's my take on Tom Ferry Summit 2017. If you have any specific questions, write them down below. I always reply back to everybody that writes a post, even the negative people. And I'll be sure to answer any questions. And as always, do me a favor, like, share, comment. It is official. I just finished up with my last meeting on standing up the podcast. Podcast is going to be coming up. We're going to be doing something once a week. Every other week, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to be doing a lot of investor stuff. We're going to be talking about agents wanting to become real estate investors. That's the biggest thing that I kept getting asked while I was at the Tom Ferry Summit. It seems like real estate agents don't know, now you're making all this chunk money, or you're making money, and you don't know how to make that money make you more money. You should be doubling your cash every year. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about that, and then in between that, I'll be talking about real estate based stuff. There'll be a mix of interviews, and sometimes it'll just be me running my mouth. I don't know. So until then, do me a favor, like, share, comment, pass it along, and KSA Kris, I'm out. Have a good one. Talk to you all later.